Hey guys, Cookie and Swanee here. There's been some big news in Helldivers 2 coming out today. We've got the Illuminate popping up again in a curious way, a new stratagem for you to try out right now, and all this coming on the eve of a major blog post that we've been waiting for all week. That blog post will be coming out sometime tomorrow, and we will expect to fully cover it in its own video. But Swanee, what do you expect to be talked about in tomorrow's blog post?
Well, I mean, they've been on a bit of a break, and we haven't had any new patches or anything lately. And we did get those teases from the developer Q&A that they did on Discord, where they talked about how they were going to buff some certain things. So I expect this is probably going to be like a pre-patch note blog, where they're going to talk about how they're going to probably, hopefully, buff some primary weapons, buff some of the stratagems, and then if I had to take a guess, we'll probably see this update within a week or two. It's just their timing is all over the place with their whole 60 days to fix the game thing. So, hopefully they have a lot of buffs, and if they have any nerfs or tweaks, they're probably going to get a lot of backlash. So I'm expecting basically some patch notes.
Yeah, I would definitely expect patch notes. I also wonder if they're going to say things about the Warbond, if there's going to be one at all this month, if there's when the next Warbond's going to be.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think there's going to be some talk about that potentially too, and maybe they'll throw in some important like DLC type stuff that they might be looking to add in the future coming weeks, which we may be talking about potentially here in a couple of subjects. But yeah, I think there's a couple different things that could be on here. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more than just the patch notes. I think they'll throw in some extra stuff too, because it's unusual for them to do a blog post, especially when they kind of talked about the patch notes a couple weeks ago with their 60-day plan. I think they might do a little bit more than that, but we'll have to see. And like we said, we'll be covering that in its entirety on a video tomorrow. So earlier this week, we failed the major order to get the Orbital Napalm Barrage, but never fear, a new dispatch came out today saying that while the supplies recovered by the Helldivers in execution of the recent major order were insufficient to permanently deploy Orbital Napalm Barrages fleet-wide, the Ministry of Defense was able to produce a limited supply of the stratagem thanks to the Helldivers' efforts. In recognition of their continued unquestioning sacrifice, the Orbital Napalm Barrage has been made temporarily available to all Helldivers. So, Swanee, you've actually gotten to try it out. I haven't yet to this point. What do you think of it? How does it play? How does it work?
Well, so far I've only got to test it out in very briefly, and in the little testing I did, it's really strong. This is how a stratagem is supposed to feel. And I like that they're letting us test it out, even though we failed the major order. I feel like they should do that with every stratagem if we fail a major order. That way we get something. It's very boring and it's not fun to play when we fail a major order and then we're like, well, we could have had new content, but I guess we gotta wait another month or a couple weeks. That's not fun. So I do like that they're letting us test this out, and I've thrown it on a couple of bug nests and some automaton bases, and it completely annihilates everything. If any enemies are near this barrage, they are going to die, and it feels so cool. It does have a very slow cooldown time of I think as soon as you throw it in, it's a 4-minute cooldown, and I mean, that's a long cooldown time for a barrage, but it's well worth it because this barrage is actually powerful, intimidating, and it's fun to use. That's how stratagems should feel. They should feel overpowered. They should feel extremely useful, and I feel like this stratagem does a great job of that. I don't really like barrages that much because I feel like they're inaccurate and they're not really that useful, but this one I really enjoy so far, and I can't wait till we actually unlock it for real, because it's really good.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed from watching videos of the Napalm Barrage is it does something obviously that none of the other barrages do, because it's a fire barrage. It covers the entire ground, so even if it doesn't kill something with the initial bomb hitting the ground, it'll kill stuff afterwards, especially the Terminates. With all their small little units, they'll get absolutely annihilated by this. So it kind of does what I kind of wish all the barrages would do, which is widespread impact, because the barrages just kind of hit that one spot and that's it. So unless they hit a unit directly, they probably aren't going to do anything. That's the issue with the other barrages. This seems to completely overcome that, and it looks awesome. It looks epic too. It just looks really cool seeing fire come out of the sky and just start burning the entire ground around you.
Yeah. Like, I don't even need to do a full breakdown video for this stratagem, because I normally do that for new stratagems, and just from the little amount of playing, I can already tell this is the best stratagem, like the best barrage in the game, because things will die to impact, and there's a lot of shells that get fired down, and they come in fast, so like you better get away as soon as you throw this, or you're gonna die pretty quickly. I learned that the hard way. But this is easily the best of the barrages, because if they don't die from the explosion, which a lot of them will, they're going to die from the fire damage. So if you're throwing this into a bug nest on like Helldive difficulty, everything's going to get caught on fire and die. Like it's obviously not going to poop on like a Bile Titan, like, because they don't take much fire damage, if any at all, but the impact can hurt Bile Titans and stuff. So I'm a big fan of this barrage, and I mean it's really good. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean here's to just hoping they don't nerf it in the future.
Yeah, fingers crossed they don't nerf it.
Fingers crossed they don't nerf it. There's also been a very odd development that came out today. Various Helldivers reported seeing Illuminate showing up on their galactic map. A lot of them have screenshots to prove it, and I don't think multiple different people are faking it. This definitely seems legitimate. According to them, it was something that showed up on their screen for about a minute or so, and then it was immediately taken away. Some of them even shorter than that. So there was a system outage update dispatch which came through around the same time. I'm not entirely positive the two things are related, although a lot of Redditors are saying that they are. I guess the major question that comes out of this is, was this on purpose or was it actually an accident? Because I think this was on purpose. I think this would definitely be something they would do on purpose. That's my personal take on it, and I think it would be really smart if they
try to like build hype, because they know people are going to talk about it.
Helldivers has this unique opportunity, and we've talked about this before, where they're kind of role-playing, the devs are, as if they're part of the SEAF and everything, and they are purposely keeping things from people. We've seen them role-play that 100 times. So they have this opportunity to kind of just throw that out there and legitimately pretend lie and say, oh, that's just, undemocratic nonsense. That's kind of what they'll probably do in this regardless. I think it's smart. I think it's really smart if they put it out there for people to start talking about it.
The CEO did respond to this today on Twitter and said it was fake news.
Right. So they have a great... Like, the Illuminate stuff has kind of died down in the last month or so. Like, everybody's still waiting, but they're starting to get, like, kind of aggravated at waiting, so they're just not talking about it as much. And this gets it talking again. It's smart. I mean, they might not have the Illuminate coming out for another 6 months for all we know, but this is going to generate interest in the game. It's not, like, going to revive it entirely just by this leak, but it's going to get a few thousand people popping back on. Gain some interest, and if they actually are planning on bringing out the Illuminate soon, I think this is a really good way of getting that started too.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people are not playing the game right now, and they're moving on to other things, and people are just kind of waiting to see if it gets fixed. I think if they play their cards right, they have a big blog post tomorrow, they have all these promises and changes coming, and then the patch comes and it actually works, and it's not glitchy, and all these buffs are actually, make the game a lot more fun. That combined with the Illuminate, I think that will bring back a lot of players. If they make the game fun again, and you can actually kill enemies, and you actually feel like you're doing good damage against Bile Titans and Chargers, and then they introduce a whole new faction, I feel like the player base will come back in full swing. Maybe they probably won't reach like hundreds of thousands of players again, but I feel like a big chunk of players will come back, because even players that stopped playing months ago are going to want to check out this whole new faction, because it's a whole new mechanic to the game that's getting introduced. So I've been excited for the Illuminate for months, and any tease at all is interesting. And I mean, they've been in the leaks forever, so I mean, you wouldn't think it would be too much longer for them to actually show up in game.
Yeah. The last thing about this that I want to mention is, if you look at all the maps, and people have speculated about this before, the Illuminate, if this is actually how they come into the game, they only cover like 1/4 of the map. There's still a whole nother 1/4 in place for an entirely new faction, a 4th faction. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. We don't even have our 3rd faction, but it does make me wonder, like, do they actually have plans for a 4th faction in the future? Just something to throw in there. Because they definitely leave a lot of the map open over there.
It's really hard to tell, because there's just so many planets that don't get used.
Right.
I mean,
who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But for right now, they're going with undemocratic nonsense, so we'll see. But it's definitely looks like, because we do have to keep in mind, remember the Shriekers? They were starting to like pop up on people's games. And they're like, what the hell are these things? Is this real? And everybody was saying, oh, that's just, you know, the Terminids influencing the media, propaganda. So like, yeah, this is how they introduce things, and I think it's clever and it's smart if this is how they decide to do it.
I mean, even if it was a complete accident, it's still in the files, and they're working on it.
They're working on it. We'll see what happens. I definitely interesting, and definitely something to get some Helldivers people back into it. So that is going to do it for this quick Helldivers 2 news update video. If you guys like this video or our content in general, please smash that like button for us. Helps us out a ton. If you're excited about this development or have any thoughts at all that you want to share, please let us know in the comment section down below. And if you want to keep informed on Helldivers 2 and other video game news, hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And we will talk to you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye.